Hey everyone, welcome back to the Brothers of Broad Street podcast. I'm here with Bryce Ellig. My name is Jim Crodger, and tonight we have our 20th episode. Bryce and I have been doing this for a little bit, and I know we've had some doubters, but we've reached 20. That's pretty good, right, Bryce? What do you say?
20's a bit. I think 20's pretty big.
Yeah, I mean, listen, no accolade, no achievement is too small, too minor. So we're just keep building up, and we'll get there. We'll get there, but
We'll be at 100 before you know it.
yeah, hop on the train now while admission is free. But anyway, we got a lot to talk about tonight. Obviously, the first Sunday of football is now in the books. The Monday night game's going on tonight. It's between the Ravens and the Raiders. The
It actually
Ravens,
just literally kicked off as we speak. Like they just kicked the football.
yeah, we'll be giving you live updates as this show goes on. The Ravens are actually favored to win this game, and that's where I'm going to get my pick. Bryce, who you got before this game, gets going? Who you got?
I think it's a really really weird game. I think the Ravens will win, but I wouldn't be surprised. I would stay away from it if I had to bet the game. But if I think the Raiders will keep it close. I think it'll be a close game. I think it might be like a field goal, 4-point type game. Like I think it might come down to like the last drive. I think it's gonna be a low scoring game. But speaking of that, before you get into your pick, I want to apologize to the fans.
No, I was actually going to bring up an apology. An apology for you for the fans is what I was about to get into.
I'm starting out the NFL / college football season 0-2. Not the way not the way you want to start. I actually heard it from a couple kids. Let me know that they're not pleased with my efforts, and you know
They're
what?
not happy.
I'm shaken up. Both games weren't even close either, which it really hurts. I hate Notre Dame. I don't know why I liked them so much. That was me going back. I never really liked that team, and man, did they disappoint. And man, Green Bay, I don't even want to talk about it. But to be fair, I don't think anybody saw that coming. Green Bay was like the number one bet team yesterday. Aaron Rodgers I don't even know what to say about that team. They look like a mess. People are going around saying the dumbest things, like Aaron Rodgers is throwing the season on purpose. He's not throwing the season on purpose. He played terrible yesterday. Devontae Adams had drops. The defense looked horrible. They made Jameis Winston threw 5 touchdowns. I mean, I saw Rodgers' second interception was the worst throw I've ever seen. I mean, I don't know what he was thinking. It was bad. So you know what? I'll take that, but I'm throwing it in. I'm guaranteeing my next pick I throw out there, it hits. I'm guaranteeing. And listen, my record still speaks for itself. I'm still 11 games over 500.
Yeah, you're 34 and 23. All right, you're sitting well. And listen, you got to take the good and the bad in this world. The good with the bad in this world. You can't just. It's not all sunshines and rainbows.
Yeah, I mean, listen. It takes. I'm taking it with a grain of salt. People are letting me have it, and I deserve to.
Yeah.
I deserve it. I'm not going to sit here and make excuses or anything. I deserve it. Notre Dame, horrible. Green Bay, absolutely terrible.
Listen, I'm not trying to pour salt in the wound here, but if I could just go back to what Bryce said for his best bet with the Packers. Now, if you play fantasy, you'll understand what I'm trying to get at here. His final sentence was, Rodgers is looking to make a point today. Now, if you had Aaron Rodgers in fantasy, he actually only made one singular point. So, Bryce, you weren't wrong in one case. He actually did get 1 point yesterday.
I mean, that game was insane. I mean, I couldn't believe what I was watching. Like, I just couldn't believe it. Like,
were you more impressed with how the Saints played? Or
no.
Okay.
I think the Saints were benefits of a terrible. I mean, I've never seen a team play. I mean, they played bad on every aspect of that game. They were terrible on. Granted, it's got a little bit screwed. I mean, there was like 3 or 4 times where Winston it's crazy to say, Winston only completed 14 passes, had 148 yards and 5 touchdowns. That says it all. He got the ball at like the 30-yard line, almost in the red zone at least 3 or 4 times. I mean, it was crazy. Alvin Kamara played pretty well. I mean, they didn't look bad, the Saints, but I wouldn't count that up and start hyping up the Winston train. I know how people love to do that. Winston didn't play anything special. I tried to explain that to people. They were like, but he threw 5 touchdowns. Sometimes stats can lie. That was a little bit of a lying. Like, I mean, he threw a couple wide open passes. It was just the Packers were so off. And I think that has to do part of it with the fact that Matt LaFleur he's just the coach. Like, he's just the coach, like, as in, like, he's just there to be the coach, but Aaron Rodgers is really the coach. And I think that's part of the problem right there.
I mean, I think what goes into it that they were talking about on some shows today. Listen, Aaron Rodgers doing what he did all off season with the Jeopardy, talking about retirement, the video or the golfing outing, all that stuff plays into it. Whether people want to say it does or say it doesn't, you can't have your starting quarterback, your team leader, not be there for most of the practices in the off season, then show up, make a big deal at the press conference, have an interview on Fox with that whole, and then expect to be an NFC champion, not NFC champion, like a contender right off the bat. Now it's going to take some time to gel.
Yeah, I think Aaron Rodgers realized, wait, I'm in the NFL, and teams are really, really good in the NFL. This isn't like, it's the NFL for a reason. Every single player in this league is good. Even the 53rd guy on the roster, he is good. I mean, everybody is good. So, listen, and playing the team like the Saints, they've got a great head coach. Sean Payton has proved me wrong time in and time out.
Phenomenal. Their defense is phenomenal. They still have the offensive weapon. I mean, I know they don't have Drew Brees anymore, but they still have offensive weapons. Michael Thomas is still hurt, but still, they have.
I mean, their number one wide receiver is probably that Callaway guy. He had one catch yesterday. Obviously, they've got a top 3 running back in Alvin Kamara. He's a stud. He's going to make plays no matter what. But listen, they lost a running back this week in Latavius Murray, so they really, they weren't coming in with their second guy. They played really well. They played mistake-free football, and they jumped on the opportunities instead of, some teams, like when a team makes a mistake, throws a pick, and you get into the red zone, and you can't score and you kick a field goal. They took advantage of the opportunities. They scored every time, and they took the life out of the Packers. Even if the Packers thought they could come back into it, Winston took the life out of them. I'll give credit where it's due. Was very, very shocked. I think that was the biggest shock of the day for sure. Over, we could talk about the Steelers and the Bills. We could talk about it, people didn't expect the Eagles to play as well. But to me, I don't know about you, but that was the biggest shock for sure on Sunday.
I mean, when you talk about the Steelers and the Bills, we had the last episode when Dan and Rich were on the show. I thought the Bills were going to steamroll the Steelers with all the talk about, T.J. Watt not getting his contract, Big Ben coming back for the last ride or whatever it is, question marks, knowing how Najee Harris was going to be fit into everything going on with Steelers organization and how well the Bills played last year at their home field. Bills Mafia. I just thought they were going to destroy the Steelers, and they were even favored by a touchdown. And for them to be up at halftime and then lose that game. Now that's where I have a question for you. Are the Steelers for real, or was this the Bills just a bad game?
I had said it. I don't know if I said it on the podcast, but I'd said it throughout the week prior, like after the podcast, and I said it. It's not like I'm just like saying this now. I had a feeling Mike Tomlin's a great coach. People forget he gets a lot of crap for no reason. He's a winning coach. He's never had a losing record in 15 seasons coaching a team. That's ridiculous. So I had a feeling, that was like a Mike Tomlin type game. I knew they would come in. I knew everyone was kind of hyping up the Bills. I told you, I'm just not fully bought into them. I don't think they're as good as people, they got them compared to the Chiefs and the Bucks. I don't think they're on that level. And I just think it's a Steelers type game to win. I'm saying the Bills, I don't think they're on that level, but the Steelers, they're definitely not anything too special. Big Ben is going to hold them back. He didn't play a great game. Their offensive line is a huge concern for sure. They couldn't get Najee Harris going. I think he's still going to have a great season, but granted, the Bills have a solid defense, but they couldn't get the offense going right at all. It took a punt return. If you didn't watch the game, punt return, or they blocked that punt to score a touchdown. That was the deciding factor. Deontay Johnson had a crazy catch in the end zone, but besides that, the offense was kind of a no factor. It was a Steelers type win. It was a similar win to how they've won the last 3 to 4 seasons. Defense, and they put out a nice win, and that was a big first start to the season. I wouldn't go saying the Steelers are anything special yet, but the Bills, I don't know about them. I don't know. Maybe it's a gut feeling with me, but I'm just not completely bought in on them yet.
Yeah, I know. I know that the T.J. Watt signing, him getting his money, definitely had to help. Not just T.J. Watt, just the overall morale of the team. I mean, when your leader, when your defensive captain gets paid, and now it's all in now. It's just a good feeling, and he obviously stepped up this weekend. The dude was a menace on the field.
Another guy I want to mention, and this is what the Steelers have done time in and time out, and this is what makes them such a great team. They bring in these guys. They brought in 2 huge names that, underrated names, but huge names if you watch football. Joe Schobert has been a great linebacker over the last couple of years. They bring him in for like a 6th-round pick, and then they signed Melvin Ingram, who's been an all-pro player They signed him in July, whatever. I was watching clips yesterday. I know this sounds crazy. He was the best player on the field yesterday. He had 8 pressures to the quarterback. He got to the quarterback 8 times yesterday. That's the exact punch they need. The guy to replace Bud Dupree on the other side to, make sure TJ Watt's not getting double teamed every single time. You're going to have to account for that guy. The Steelers defense is going to be scary. Plus the addition, you're getting Devin Bush back. He was out all of last year with that torn ACL. You're getting him back. The defense was looking really solid for sure. And that's going to be a really tough defense.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but Ingram was on the Chargers for a couple of years, right?
Yeah, he was that 1-2 punch with Bosa.
And he was a Pro Bowler.
An All-Pro, and they bring him in. They brought him in. They signed him July 26th, and I was shocked that he
last year. What happened?
I don't know. That's the thing that I never understand about the league. I guess because they considered maybe he's like 32, 33 years old, that he's completely out of his prime. But the Steelers picked him up, and man, did he look good yesterday. I got to say, you got to watch the clips. He might have not gotten a recorded sack, but 8 quarterback pressures, getting to the quarterback 8 times. That's crazy stuff.
Yeah, it's big time. Another quarterback that got pressured all day long yesterday, and I want to get into it, is Carson Wentz. Now, people are going to go on and on, and I saw it on Twitter all day today. Jalen Hurts did yada, yada, yada. The Colts lost their first game. This is going to be all season and stuff like that. But Carson Wentz was pressured at least 10 times yesterday, and he was sacked 3 times. The offensive line for the Colts last year was ranked 7th in the league by Pro Football Focus. I sent you that today.
Mm-hmm.
That was not the same offensive line yesterday. They're already on their 3rd string left tackle. And I think it's their right guard went down, or someone else on their offensive line.
They don't have their starting left tackle because Eric Fisher's that right now, and he's out as of week 1. I don't know how long he's going to be out for, but he's their starter when he comes back. And
not that the Seahawks defense is the best in the league, but they do have guys on defense that can put pressure on the quarterback and make some plays. Obviously Jamal Adams and all that, and all those guys. Yesterday was not Carson Wentz's fault. And I believe that Carson Wentz and the Colts will still have a great season this year. Very similar to how they played last year. Carson Wentz is still the guy.
I actually have a fun fact. I saw the Colts now are leading next to the Browns. The Browns have lost the last 17 home openers, but the Colts have lost their last 9 home openers or season openers. Something crazy.
Really? The Browns haven't won a season opener since 2004.
Yeah, that's the other team. But to be fair, the Browns, that's the best loss you can have. They played great yesterday. Just
that's a morale booster right there.
When you're running into the Super Bowl favorite. If not second Super Bowl. I think they're the Super Bowl favorites in the betting world.
At a packed Arrowhead Stadium. You couldn't even hear yourself think. That's how loud it was.
Yeah, plus they had an early ejection in their secondary. That guy punched somebody in the face. You don't have him. You got to put it in your second guy. That's big.
Former Eagle Greg Lewis. Did you see the video? So
that's
it was Henderson, right? Or Johnson.
He had purple hair or something.
I forget. But when he made the tackle, and he actually got tied up with the Chiefs player on the ground, or I don't know if he tried stepping over him, pulling an Allen Iverson, or what he did. But when they got tangled up, Greg Lewis, the former Eagle, who's a coach now for the Chiefs, he came over and shoved.
He gave him a good shove.
So he should have gotten thrown out of the game. It shouldn't have just been
definitely. It should have been 2, yeah.
So then once they reviewed it, it was just a flag for him pushing back the coach. But they both should have got tossed.
Wait, the best part was at first they didn't eject him, and I was with a bunch of my friends, and I was like, "There's no way they didn't just see that." And what are you talking about? I didn't see it. And they replayed it, and the announcer's like, "How did they miss this? He just punched a coach in the face." And then New York must have called him and been like, "How did you just miss a player literally just punched a coach in the face?" Yeah, that's unacceptable. You can't be doing that. But I want to get back. I'm not. Listen, I got to get into it.
This is why we're here right now. Actually, this morning, guys, I woke up to a text from Bryce saying Carson Wentz is a loser. I still have a Carson Wentz jersey. I love Carson Wentz. That set my entire Monday and the rest of my week off on the wrong foot. That's why we're here tonight, taking it to the pod, because he had the audacity to text me at 7 a.m. that Carson Wentz is a loser. So I want to hear what you have to say.
Listen, Grant, he did not play horrible. He didn't play great. He played in between. He wasn't great. What I read from what I read, the offensive line was absolutely terrible, which is a big thing because everybody went on and on about how great his offensive line was going to be. Am I wrong? Everybody went on and on about how great the offensive line was going to be. They didn't show up. And guess what, Jimmy? There's 3 guarantees in this world. Death, taxes, and Carson Wentz is always going to fumble. He is going to fumble no matter where he is. Another lost fumble, of course, because what else is new? And the game wasn't even close. The Seahawks were up by 10 points almost the whole entire game. He had those pointless little touchdowns at the end probably, but he didn't play a great game. He's not a winner.
Pointless little touchdowns at the end. He had a touchdown in the beginning of the second quarter or whatever that was. Listen.
You act like he played lights out. He had 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 10-point loss.
This is where I was just about to say. I'm not saying that he played lights out. But no interceptions, 250 yards, and 2 touchdowns with a QB rating of 102. That's solid. That's a good performance. That's better.
He had a huge turnover in a big spot.
You just said they were down by 10, like at least 10 the entire game.
But that was in the middle. Like all I know is it was in the middle of the third because for some odd reason there's a kid I know that's a huge Seahawks fan, and he was watching on his laptop and he's like, "Wentz just fumbled. Let's go." And I mean, nobody in the room was shocked. All Eagles fans were like, "Oh, he fumbles every game," and he does. He fumbles every game. He literally fumbles the football every game.
Listen,
not a winner. Just not a winner. Not a winner. Ever since that MVP season, he's not a winner. Colts not going to the playoffs, not going to have a winning record. Colts fans are going to hate him, and I'm happy we're not paying him $100 million.
Yeah, we're paying him 50. First off, we're probably paying him 60 million. First off, fumbles are a part of the game. All right. Everybody fumbles. It happens. It's not like the game yesterday was the Super Bowl and the fumble just completely cost the game. The Colts did not play good on defense. Their offense was obviously not put together. The Seahawks were just a much better team yesterday. They were never winning that game in the first place. But for one, Carson Wentz was hurt with the foot injury in the beginning of the preseason. Then he had the COVID protocol that put him out 2 weeks. So just there alone.
He's not getting the vaccine, which is huge.
But just there alone, he probably missed about a month developing chemistry, working with his offensive line, and all that. So when you get into the first game of the season, play calls, snap counts, all that's going to be off. So the fumble there, to me, that doesn't really matter because him and the center are just not on the same page right now. That won't be a problem come week 6, week 7. That won't even be a problem come week 3, week 4. Second, no quarterback is good when the offensive line is depleted. All right. We saw what happened to the greatest quarterback. To the second greatest quarterback in the league right now, Patrick Mahomes. The first greatest is Tom Brady. And you're obviously had a firsthand experience in fantasy, how he just went off for me. Took me to victory. But anyway, Patrick Mahomes last year in the Super Bowl, he lost his 2 guys on the offensive line. The Buccaneers had a field day getting after him. I saw something today with the Eagles, Lane Johnson, Brandon Brooks,
first game 2019.
And Jason Kelce did not play together since 2019. All right, that's absurd. So you can't expect Carson Wentz to perform behind that offensive line when, his 3 guys weren't all together. There's no chemistry. And then he goes to the Colts, and I don't know if he's bringing the injury bug with him or what's going on, but now the Colts don't have 2 of their guys on the offensive line. So I just think
the issue is he's an extremely injury-prone player. That's not me hating on him. He is. He's an injury-prone player. He gets hurt.
He is. And, it was funny because Howie Roseman, whether he's talking to some reporter the other day or something like that, they said, what was the final decision for trading Wentz and going with Hurts? And Howie said, listen, we've won 4 playoff games, and they've all been without our starting quarterback. So that just goes to show where the Eagles front offense was thinking. I still think Wentz is going to have a good season. He's my dark horse candidate for MVP. But I want to switch over and get to your dark horse candidate and your team that you think could potentially win the Super Bowl, Matt Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams. How do you think they performed last night against the Chicago Bears?
I think it's a perfect example of a team that everyone said they should go out and kill them, and they did. It was like, I get the game was close for a little bit, but we all kind of felt the same way. It was a blowout, but it was like the score was close. The Bears offense could never get going. I honestly believe Matt Nagy might be the worst NFL coach in the league. He's just coached a really, really bad game. It was just really everything about it. You can't throw Justin Fields in there and then throw like Andy Dalton. You got to pick a guy and go with him. Like I think that's really bad, especially in the NFL. Like I get the Saints did that with Taysom Hill here and there, but he knew his role. Like
49ers did it with Trey Lance, and they got a
yeah,
touchdown out of it.
that was because Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt. He had to like leave or something. I didn't watch the game, but I knew that was Jimmy Garoppolo came in for the rest of the game. But it's just weird to me. I think that's definitely not a great team. I'm trying to think. Like I don't know. Like it's
in my opinion, the whole thing with Matt Nagy and the Chicago Bears, and people are saying that because he signed Andy Dalton and wanted Andy Dalton, he wants to try to win with a veteran quarterback because he thinks he has the defense or the team or whatever. Listen, he was the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs when they had Pat Mahomes as a rookie. And everybody was making a big deal about Pat Mahomes not starting that first season, and they were going with Alex Smith. I think Matt Nagy's doing the same thing with Justin Fields here in Chicago. Listen, you don't.
But you got to hear me out. I think Alex Smith is a much better quarterback than Andy Dalton ever was. Alex Smith was a winning quarterback. I mean, he went, everywhere he went, he won.
I'm not trying to compare Alex Smith or Andy Dalton. I'm just trying to compare the veteran, like a veteran quarterback with a team that's been kind of put together already, and then rookie quarterbacks coming up. And then also, listen, the first game of your NFL career, you do not want to be against Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. That's just not fun. That's just not fun.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think the Bears did have a few bright spots. I think David Montgomery is really looking good. Like I had my doubts about him. He came in, he had a really good game. He had a really big play on the goal line where he was able to break off an Aaron Donald tackle and get in the end zone. That was big. I just think I'm not shocked at all by the Rams. I go on and on and on. Matt Stafford has been the most underrated possibly player in the league over the last decade. He wasn't talked about because he was in Detroit. Yes, he had those years with Calvin Johnson where people were always watching. He was a fantasy guy, this and that. But he's finally at a functioning franchise. He is a functioning head coach that knows how to coach. He's got a great team built around him. He's got stud wide receivers. He's got a couple solid running backs. Give Sony Michel some time to learn that offense. He'll fit in real nice. Their offensive line looks really solid. Their defense looks like they should. And the Rams definitely look like they're a top 5 team in the NFL, no doubts whatsoever. Maybe even you could see them even going into that top 3 spot at some point when the season keeps going. They did what they were supposed to do against the Bears. You got to give them credit. And, I'm not surprised. That's why I took Matt Stafford in fantasy. I always take him.
No, yeah, sorry. I'm listening to you and everything like that. Stafford did perform, really well last night. 320 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he had a rating actually of 156. But then again, like you said, it's the Chicago Bears. They're not going up against the Buccaneers or the Chiefs or the Ravens, whoever you want to say. But Jared Goff didn't have that bad of a performance with the Lions either. The Niners beat the Lions 41-33, but Jared Goff, he threw for 340 yards, 3 touchdowns. He did have an interception. Not too much of a difference there, though.
No, I think Goff played really well. Granted, that was a really weird ending. The 49, like they scored like 15 points in 30 seconds. It was crazy. That was another team that they did not look good. I get they had a couple injuries in the beginning of the game with Raheem Mostert being out. That was another team that, like I said, Jimmy, don't be surprised if the Philadelphia Eagles start the season out 3-0. Don't be surprised. Don't be shocked. I've been saying that.
We were talking this morning about how the Eagles started their season yesterday and what the weeks ahead look like. The Eagles play the 49ers next week. Bryce sees the Eagles beating the 49ers. In my opinion, I think the 49ers are just too much of an experienced team all around their roster, and I think they're going to beat the Eagles. I just don't see the Eagles beating the 49ers. It's not like they're playing the Falcons. How do you I don't why do you think the Eagles are going to beat the 49ers? I guess where I'm getting at.
I just think the 49ers are a little injured up right now. I still think they're getting used to being back. Granted, they have a great coach. I'm a little scared of Shanahan. Definitely don't sleep on that guy. He's the top 5, maybe 3 coach in the NFL behind Belichick. He's right there to me. They got a solid offensive line, but once again, I just feel like their offense isn't all crazy talented. Yes, they have Deebo Samuel. Brandon Ayuk, I don't even know if he played. I'm not even saying.
You're lucky. So this week in fantasy, I played Bryce the first week, game 1. I started Brandon Ayuk as my flex. And if somebody could let us know what happened, I don't know if he got – I know he had a hamstring injury the entire offseason, and he was questionable going into the game. Someone said he went out there for a snap, and then he just did not feel right, and then he sat out the rest of the game. But
I have no idea. I didn't even hear anything about it. Deebo Samuel stepped up on my bench. In another league, he dropped 35 points. That hurt.
But I think Ayuk will be playing next week against Philadelphia.
Yeah, no, it's going to be essential to have him. If he's 100%, if he's not 100%, we'll see. But I don't think their offense is anything too crazy talented. I know Trey Simone, whatever how you pronounce his last name. Yeah, he was a healthy scratch, so I don't know if he's even going to play next week. No one knows what's going on with him. I just think they're a little injured up. I think if they don't start Trey Lance, they're not going to have an athletic quarterback and Jimmy Garoppolo going, which is going to be big for us. So I think if the defensive line can get to them early, I could see the Eagles pulling out a win. And if Jalen Hurts and obviously the offense plays the way they did, I mean, what could stop them from not winning? It's just me. The first game in the link, the offense looked like it clicked. Yes, they had some hiccups in the beginning. There was way too many false starts, maybe like 3 or 4 in the Eagles, which is really big. I haven't seen that many false starts.
I think Lane Johnson had 3 false starts alone.
I know Jordan Mailata jumped twice. That was definitely not what you want to see.
But then again, that was his first game. I know it wasn't his first game, but that was like his first game at left tackle with the starting unit. I think he played well. Did you see that hit that he laid on that defensive back to give?
Yeah, that's like the definition of what that summed up the game perfectly.
That was awesome. That was nice to see, honestly.
No, I mean, that was someone tweeted and they were like, this was like, or I was watching highlights and the YouTube comment was like, this is the most perfect Eagles game there's been in a while. And couldn't agree more. I can't really remember the last time the Eagles just played like an absolutely perfect game. Like defense was solid. Special teams was solid. I mean, the new punter we got looked great. He had a couple punts dropped within the 10, 15-yard line.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was big. I think that's always an underrated factor in games is having a good punter, having a guy that's able to drop it and keep it within, 15 yards and back rather than touch it back and give him the ball at the 25. This league is everyone's good. So you don't want to give anybody free yards. So if you can do that, I mean, everybody looks solid. Jake Elliott looked good. I mean, that was crazy to me. Everybody seemed pretty perfect. And we got to talk about because you've been hating. And I get it's week 1.
I haven't been hating. This is where people.
There was some third down plays, and you can agree with me. There were some plays on third down. I especially remember one on 3rd and 5. I'm pretty sure this was when the 2-minute drive when they scored right before halftime. There was a 3rd and 5 about the 45-yard line. There was nobody open. He avoided a sack, ran up the field, got about 7-8 yards, and got out of bounds. Carson Wentz didn't do that, and it's not me hating on him. It's not me whatever. He just didn't do that. That was not in his bag. That was not part of his game.
At least scramble and make a play out of it.
The scramble and make a play out of it. Maybe 4 years ago that was his game. It's not anymore. At least it wasn't for the Eagles. He gets sacked in that play. There was plenty of plays, and I heard the announcer even say it. There was plenty of plays where Hurts avoided sacks, got rid of the ball, this and that, where 30 other quarterbacks in the NFL get sacked. They do.
First off, I feel like that you want to.
They do.
I feel like you want to put Jalen Hurts in Canton already.
After
one
good not what I said.
Week 1.
That's not what I said. I just think. Wait, another big factor I want to talk about and why I'm a believer. Not just, obviously he played great on the field. There's no denying it. Jalen Hurts played absolutely phenomenal yesterday. He played A+ football. And, I get it's against the Atlanta Falcons. And I told you, I think Atlanta sucks. I think they're one of the worst teams in the NFL, probably top 5 worst team. Matt Ryan is well out of his prime. They didn't, they drafted Kyle Pitts. He's not going to make the team that much better this season. It's just, they're not a good team. But the Eagles showed they came in and they beat a really bad team and they beat them bad. But the other big thing I want to talk about is, we remember the big thing with Carson Wentz was he wasn't that great of a leader. There was always rumors going around. The team couldn't really get around him. Malcolm Jenkins said a couple years ago that the team just, rallied around Foles better than him. And all I see is the mindset. The whole entire team loves Jalen Hurts. I've watched Howard Eskin talk about it. I've watched Elliott Shore-Parks tweet about it. This team loves Hurts. It's something different. And also the coaching staff, I just felt like a different vibe off them. This team is much, 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 much more different than it was before. I think Nick Sirianni is a completely different coach than Doug Peterson was. We have a whole new coaching staff. It was nice to see, they came in, they got their first dub, they're confident. I listened to an after the game speech. Nick Sirianni's like, listen, happy we won today, but we got to focus, get ready, because that was only the first week. We got to get ready for the next week. I don't know. It felt like the team morale felt a lot better than it did the last couple of years. And I mean, maybe it's early, maybe it's me just saying that they're coming off a big win, but I think you can agree. It's just Jalen Hurts or Carson Wentz. There was always those rumors. He just wasn't a great leader. And I'm not saying because I don't like Carson Wentz. There was just those rumors. We heard Malcolm Jenkins talk about it before. And all I hear is that Devontae Smith, all these wide receivers, the coaching staff, everybody loves Jalen Hurts. I think that's a big factor. You got to believe in your leader. He's the quarterback is the leader of your football team, and you got to believe in him.
First off, with the Wentz scrambling and Hurts being able to scramble on third downs and, break away from sacks, I'll upload it onto this podcast channel or whatever you want to do. There are countless videos of Wentz scrambling away. Like one in my mind right now is when
was it the MVP season?
Yes.
I told you he did it during the MVP season, but now he has.
Right. And then the following year when he came back, and the year that he had the spine injury, they were playing the Colts, and it was on third down. It was like a 3rd and 20, and the Colts just bum rushed him, and he was able to break free and come away with a first down. I'll look up that play too.
It was the Redskins. It was the Redskins game. It was the year he won MVP. Because
No. He did it against the Colts too.
Oh, I was in that game. I was actually at that game. Yeah.
He did it against the Colts too. And then I know for a fact, last year was a crazy year, but he's definitely breaking some tackles last year. I remember. Listen, Hurts isn't the only quarterback that does that. All right, there's many other quarterbacks that do that.
I know, but it's nice. It's nice having a quarterback because we haven't had a quarterback like Jalen Hurts probably since Michael Vick, a guy that. And don't get me wrong, Michael Vick was a freak. I mean, he's a once in a lifetime type player. Michael Vick was. I mean, his talent was undeniable. And I'm not saying Jalen Hurts is on that level, but it's nice to have a quarterback that can get out of the pocket and make a play, not just his arm, but his feet.
Well, that's what I was getting to. Jalen Hurts is a better runner than Wentz. He's definitely a better running quarterback than Wentz. I'll give you that. But in terms of scrambling and making a play out of nothing, both quarterbacks have that ability. And I think there's other quarterbacks around the league now. You don't see many pocket passers anymore in this league. I know Mac Jones with the Patriots is that pocket presence, and Tom Brady, obviously. But Rodgers has that scrambling ability. Josh Allen.
Tom Brady, I don't think, has left the pocket in 8 years.
for his bootlegs, he has. For his Peyton Manning bootlegs, he
has barely 1,000 career rushing yards, and it's just crazy to think about because he's played for 22 seasons.
Well, you got to look out now. He got that knee brace off, so now he'll be running a lot more.
No, I mean I respect him. You got to respect Brady. It's just funny when you think about just him running.
But I mean, those Jones, Brady. I'm trying to think of anybody else who really doesn't leave the pocket. Maybe Andy Dalton, but I think Dalton scrambles a little bit.
He scrambles more than it. Yeah. You're for sure right on the.
If you're a quarterback in the NFL now, the quarterbacks are making plays out of nothing. We're seeing that more and more. I mean, we can get into it. We'll get into the Chiefs and the Browns game soon. But with the Eagles yesterday, I'm not taking anything away from Hurts. The dude had a phenomenal performance. 250 passing yards. I think he had 62 rushing yards with 3 touchdowns.
He's the third quarterback all time to have that exact stat line with the QB. And I'm not making it up. It was a Colts quarterback in 1974, and it was like I forget a relevant player now. But that's pretty big if you're in company with only 3 other players in NFL history.
Yeah, no, I saw it, and I know for his first 3 games going back to last year, he's the third quarterback to have 600 passing yards and 200 rushing yards or some statistic. But let's just, come back down to earth here. They were playing the Atlanta Falcons. All right, this Falcons team has not had a good defense since 2016 when they were up 28-3 against the Patriots, and they even blew that lead.
I think they've been one of the worst teams in the NFL since that game.
Listen, they have playmakers on offense when you talk about Calvin Ridley, Matty Ice, Kyle Pitts can play, but that defense has nobody outside of Deion Jones. I mean, I'm trying to think of other players.
No, they have that team's really, really, really. Grady Jarrett's a stud. I'm
not taking anything away from the Eagles. Listen, I love watching these young guys play. They could flat out fly. They're fast paced. It kind of reminds me. I know we don't bring up his name, but it does remind me of the Chip Kelly style offense. The quick, fast pace. These.
Well, what was crazy? Atlanta's running hurry up.
That was wild. Did you see their first drive?
The first 2 drives are running hurry up. Matt Ryan is not a hurry up quarterback. That quote, Arthur Smith, he learned that is not the That's not the move for Matt Ryan.
In my opinion, I think just them being home and them trying to catch the Eagles off guard, they were trying to get a quick touchdown. They end up getting a field goal out of the first drive. That was actually a good stop by that Eagles defense.
Well, that's what I wanted to talk about is you got to give the Eagles credit, man. Like that defense, especially, they came out first 2 drives bad. Running back, I mean, Mike Davis was running for 9 yards on every play. I felt like Calvin Ridley, I think we all thought after the first drive was going to have a career day. He had 4 catches on the first 3, 4 catches. I was about to say 4 catches on the first 3 plays. He had 4 catches on the first drive. I mean, they looked really solid, but the Eagles hung in there and they both times and kick field goals. And I say it all the time, the NFL, you don't win games by kicking field goals. You don't.
No, it won't get it done.
You'll never win a game by kicking field goals. And the Eagles, there was a couple plays where I had a lot of question marks. I didn't agree with some of the 4th down calls. We had like a 4th and 4 we went for. I would have punted it. That's another thing I noticed in the NFL. It's a whole different league. The Kansas City Chiefs, they changed the league. It's like Steph Curry 3-pointer. Everyone's going for it on 4th down now. It's crazy. Yesterday,
Doug Peterson did that a lot. Doug Peterson went for 4th down.
I know. Get this. Yesterday, it was 4th and 7 on either their first or second drive. They were at the exactly 50-yard line, and the Denver Broncos went for it on 4th and 7. They got it, but I remember the days when it was 4th and inches at the other team's 40-yard line, and you were punting or kicking the ball. You were never going for it. Yeah. It's just crazy. It's the crazy league we're in. It's just the new league. Everyone's going for it on 4th down. It is crazy. There's not going to be a lot of field goals this year. I'm telling you. Everyone is going for it. I can count 20 times at least yesterday teams going for it when I was watching Red Zone. Oh, going for it.
Well, especially, at points in times of the games, I think when you look around the league, every offense, has somebody that can make a play. And you can't count out any offense, at any point in time. Like if you look, who do we think is like the worst team in the league? Jacksonville Jaguars, Texans?
I think the Jaguars are personally the worst. I think they're going to have the worst. I think they might be the worst team in the league.
But they still have some guys that can make a play. You know what I mean? So when you're talking in terms of field goals, why go for 3 when you have a chance to get 7?
I think everyone's taken. I think everyone agrees with me.
Yeah.
Not like me saying it, but I think everyone agrees. Field goals don't win you games in the NFL.
Yeah.
You got to score touchdowns. You've got to get in the end zone. So that's
but missed field goals can lose you games in the NFL, and we saw that yesterday with who missed that field goal.
Dallas lost because
Dallas. That's what
I thought. That's
my bad. That it's been a while, but Dallas lost their game, in my opinion, solely because their kicker missed their field goal.
And they're one of the couple teams in the league that could go for it on 4th down every time, and I wouldn't mind because they've got 4 or 5 playmakers on their team.
They got talent all around the board with Elliott, Cooper, Gallup,
Zeke, Pollard. Pollard can make a play. Dak can do it on his feet. I mean, that team obviously has got a ton of offensive talent.
And for you fantasy owners out there, another, devastating piece of news that I received this morning. Michael Gallup is actually on the injured reserve. He's out for at least 4 to 6 weeks. He has a calf strain. So I don't know for you fantasy owners out there.
I actually really hate to see that. And, I get I'm an Eagles fan and you want to see them. But I'm actually like, I don't know what it is. I just am a big Michael Gallup guy. I just think he's a really solid wide receiver. He's going to get paid one day. It's not going to be with the Cowboys probably, but he's going to be a number 1 or number 2 wide receiver for a good team in a couple of years for sure. He can play.
I could easily see a team like the Dolphins or the Bengals trying to line somebody up with either Waddle or Jamar Chase. Get somebody, and I think Gallup would be good for that role.
I just think I time in and time out, it's like the same thing. Everyone's kind of like, Michael Gallup's good, and then you watch him play, and he gets 5-7 catches a game for 50-something yards and 80 yards, and gets a touchdown. He's a playmaker.
Yeah.
He's a great third guy to have. That's going to really hurt their team for sure.
So sticking, just one last point with the Eagles. We were talking on last episode, the hits that Ryan Clark laid on Wes Welker, Jadeveon Clowney had in college. What was the other one we talked about that you brought up? That was a good one. Was it Palomalu on somebody or I forget, but can we talk about the hit that Brandon Graham laid on Mike Davis?
That was
in the first quarter.
That was the momentum change we needed too, because that was like a 1st and goal, and he just laid him out.
Dude, you heard that echoed through the stadium. I'm like, oh man, could you imagine getting hit by Brandon Graham?
Oh, Mike Davis did not want to touch the rock after that. He wanted nothing to do with it. Another big piece I want to talk about though with the Eagles is I mean, we got to go over it. Devontae Smith is NFL ready.
7 catches for 71 yards and a TD in his first game. Listen, that was the best performance by a rookie receiver in I don't know how long for the Eagles. I mean, I know Jordan Matthews had some solid games his rookie year, but that was awesome.
No, I mean, that was I mean, I think we all thought the same thing. We saw him open for that split second. Hurts lobbed that ball up, and you were like, it was too good to be true type thing. Like
Well, it's funny, listen to Smith after the game. He was talking. He's like, when Hurts called the play, and then he saw his matchup, he knew he was getting open for that touchdown before the ball was even snapped. And that chemistry between Hurts and Smith is something that we're going to see all season. Every single time I watched the Eagles on offense, it looked like Devontae Smith was open. Was that just me?
There was definitely some plays, especially on that one drive where he had 4 or 5 catches, where he was only looking at Devontae Smith, which is fine. Have a number one target, have a guy you like, but I think that's what was crazy to me. It was like a Madden franchise type thing. Everybody on the offense ate. All 3 young studs. Dallas Goedert had a touchdown. Kenneth Gainwell had a touchdown. Forgot about that.
Jalen
Reagor had a nice little touchdown. I mean, everybody played well. And listen, I got to say, Miles Sanders looked really, really good, and I'm really happy Kenneth Gainwell, I think, is going to be that perfect second back. I don't think we're going to be seeing much of Boston Scott until, of course, the 2 Giants games. He's going to play almost the whole entire games for them. He's literally he's the giant killer. He's only on the team solely to beat the Giants. I saw Jordan Howard on the sideline, not suited up, but in close. I'm sure we're going to see a couple appearances out of him during the season.
Yeah. As the season gets on, you can't just go with 2 running backs. You're gonna have to mix in a third guy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think personally Jordan Howard would be the perfect third guy to have, a big back that goal line, because I don't think we have a goal line back. I'm not saying Miles Sanders and Kenneth Gainwell can't get in, but when we're on the 1 yard line, it'd be nice to have a guy like Jordan Howard who's built to get in.
Yeah. I have Miles Sanders in fantasy. I like the way Sanders played yesterday.
No, he definitely looked like he was a bigger part of the offense than I thought. He caught a lot of balls. He caught 3 or 4 balls. I mean, everyone goes on about his dropping has definitely been a problem in the beginning of his career, but hey, he looked
clean yesterday. He looked clean with those catches out of the backfield. Some of the plays that he didn't contribute to the stat sheet, his blocking for Devon.
He had a big block on. It was the 3rd and 9.
You know what I'm playing. You know what play I'm talking about. And then Hurts was able to get Devontae Smith.
I was listening to it today, and the announcer's like, they're sending a late blitz, and they were like, oh, and it's picked up.
Yeah.
Sanders put him on his,
Sanders did a very good job blocking for Hurts in yesterday's game. Listen, one thing that the Eagles haven't had in a while, even when you look back to quarterbacks, like way back when, like McNabb, when he was a quarterback for the Eagles, he never had young guys coming up with him. He had Freddie Mitchell and somebody else to start his career. And then when you go to Nick Foles didn't really have much to work with. When you go to, I know LaShawn McCoy and Jeremy Maclin, but they weren't, young guys like how we have right now. I mean, the average age for that offense of wide receiving corps is like 23 years old.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely. I mean, the team talked about it today. I mean, I was listening to, obviously, the ESPN announcers they'll immediately hop on the Eagles bandwagon, even though they were talking about how bad they were going to be this season. But they talked they were like, the Eagles are a really exciting young team. They're like, everybody on that team is young. I mean, we got to have one of the youngest teams in the league. And
that's where you're saying, where you bring up a good point. You love how Sirianni's interacting with these players and everything.
Like he has a handshake. He's a handshake with Jalen Hurts. That's cool. Like it's cool. Like it's fun. But the other the biggest thing I noticed with the game, and I want to go over it, is like when you blow a team out on week 1, a bunch of young guys, you're expecting a crazy sideline going nuts. The Eagles were so casual. Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, they were like, we've been here. I mean, we went to Bama. We won in high school, obviously, probably. I'm just going to assume Devontae Smith and Jalen Hurts were probably pretty good in high school. But, yeah, it was that mindset of, like, they were just confident. Like, they went out there, and I truly believe, like, obviously we all had our doubts. We didn't know how the Eagles were going to look. I think they truly believed they were going to go out there and do exactly what they did.
Yeah. And,
nothing beats confidence. Nothing beats confidence. And that's another thing that, like, I'm not bringing up because I hate him or whatever. But that was also another thing with, like, Wentz, his confidence is iffy here and there the last couple of years. I truly think Jalen Hurts is confident in himself. I mean, he works. He's the hardest working guy in the room. And listen, he proved it yesterday. I mean, he played an exceptional game. That whole team played great. It was great to see Jalen Reagor get involved. It was great to see. I just felt,
I think Reagor had 6 catches for like 65 yards and a touchdown or something along those lines.
Zach Ertz had a catch or two. Dallas Goedert had a couple really big catches, 3 or 4. He had the touchdown, but he had the catch before that. Everyone it was just one of those games where, like, you don't see it a lot. It was perfect football. Even on the defense, Hassan Ridgeway had a sack. I'd even give him 2 sacks.
Hargrave step up.
Another big thing is, you got to give him like 2 sacks pretty much. Matt Ryan literally just spiked the ball to get an intentional grounding instead of, that's another great thing. The refs did a phenomenal job yesterday on the intentional grounding. I mean, Matt Ryan, I don't know what he was doing. He was acting like a rookie quarterback. He was just spiking the ball on the ground. I mean, you got to be
definitely not acting like a former NFL MVP on that play.
Yeah.
But, it's not bringing up the whole Wentz debate or anything. I'm not trying to get into that. But the one thing that Sirianni did well with Hurts that I liked yesterday is, listen, we all know Hurts is not a pocket passer. He likes to get out, run, had that open field. And with his play calls yesterday, Sirianni's play calls yesterday, he got Jalen Hurts outside of that pocket, making throws in the run. And I think that's Jalen Hurts' strength. When you look at that play that he made with the touchdown to Goddard, that was a phenomenal play. When he rolled out to his right and made that sidearm throw, or that side across the throw to Goddard.
Another big thing I want to talk about is there was plenty of times, and I think you can agree with me, like we were watching the game where you thought Jalen Hurts was going to run, and instead he threw the ball. I mean, there was that, especially the one play to Devontae Smith where he rolled out and there was wide open. I mean, he had 5 yards. He had a good 5 yards. He could have made it it was like 2nd and 10. He could have made it 3rd and 3, and he threw the ball and it went for like 20 yards. I think that's a big thing that people are not talking about. Like, everyone went on and on about how Jalen Hurts' arm isn't there and how he's a run first guy. There's a lot of clips yesterday that prove that he's looking to pass the ball first. He's looking to prove people wrong for sure.
Yeah. And I think the offensive line just gave him a lot of time to,
we need to talk about the real MVP of the game. Jason Kelce was unbelievable yesterday.
Yes.
That might have been one of the best performances. How about the play running downfield, laying out Deion Lewis, who is an all-pro linebacker, and then blocking the cornerback. Miles Sanders had a free 15 yards, and I saw a tweet where it was Victor
Sanders.
Williams, and he was like,
I could never retire.
And he's like, please don't ever retire. And then, man, I would love to have Jason Kelce forever. He is the best.
And, this wasn't on the stat sheet, and this was actually after the game. I don't know if you checked out Barstool Sports Philadelphia. They had a video, a fan
gave a beer.
Had a Bud Light at the end of the game, and he gave it to Jason Kelce. And Kelsey's like, "Oh, this is for me." And then he took it, started drinking it. I think that's classic. It just, Jason Kelce.
It's so Philly. Like, only an Eagles fan waits all the way after the game to give a player a beer. Like, only an Eagles fan.
No, it's just Kelsey's a Philly legend.
He's just a for the boys guy. Like, there's no other way to put it. Like, he just loves Philly. Man, I'm hoping he stays another 10 years. I mean, I have him as long as he wants to stay. He is a stud. No, it was just, I mean, it's rare to say, and we're not going to be able to say it all the time. I hope we say it more than just once this year, but that was a perfectly executed game. It doesn't matter what, like I say all the time, every team in the NFL.
You gotta get the false starts out of there.
Yeah, I mean, we got to, penalties were an issue. Penalties were an issue for sure.
In terms of scheme, though, they couldn't have drawn it up better, both offensive and defensive.
You got to think for a bunch of first-time coaches to come out and put a 32 spot in an away game. Plus, also the fans showed out yesterday. I don't know if you know.
Another thing that I want to bring up. I know you don't like him too much. I know someone who else has been on this show, Regabudo, doesn't like him too much. I think you know who I'm going to bring up. Darius Slay was awesome yesterday. He played
phenomenal. He played phenomenal yesterday for sure.
You could look at his stats last year. He gets so overlooked because the Eagles defense in total in the secondary is not that good. But Darius Slay stepped up when he was covering Ridley. I think Ridley had one catch for like 7 yards or whatever. But he held whoever he went up against, he held him to like 48 total yards in total between all the wide receivers he covered.
Another guy that had that really stepped up, that started out the game a little shaky, was Steven Nelson, and came out the first 2 drives and definitely to me would look like the more shaky guy. But then he settled down. I mean, he
missed. I know he missed a couple tackles, and then
The only guy I got to say, I still don't understand. How did we give up a 4th round pick for Janelle Avery? I mean, he is just, don't know what's up with that guy.
Did you see the video where he
Yeah, where he just falls over? Yeah, I saw
There's a
that.
video on Twitter. If you haven't checked it out yet, we'll post it.
It was like the second play of the game.
Avery was
Patrick,
actually
some guy named Patrick Johnson. I didn't hear any. He was like a rookie, some sort of rookie. He played. I guess after Janelle Avery fell, they were like, all right, bring in the undrafted free agent. I
someone
think
said like, who was blocking Avery on this, and then like you just see Avery just completely fall down and get tripped
I
up.
mean, the crazy part about it wasn't like you're thinking like, oh, maybe Mike Davis stripped him out. Nothing happened. He just fell over. He just literally fell over, and that went from a potential losing play, if not no gain, to a 7-yard gain because he literally just fell. And that's obviously pretty big. You don't want to see something like that happen. But I'm not going to let Janelle. I'm just saying he just definitely doesn't seem like a guy we should traded a 4th-round pick for. But no, I'm really happy with the team. Another guy, my guy, 10-sack season. It's coming. He didn't get one yesterday, but Josh Sweat was everywhere. He was everywhere yesterday. He chases down everybody. He's going to have a really good season for sure. Derek Barnett played really well. Just crazy. The whole team played really well. They dominated that offensive line. And, the Eagles realistically had 5 sacks yesterday because Matt Ryan had 3 intentional groundings or 2 intentional groundings. But, man, they were getting quarterback pressure. They were getting the quarterback. Also, I want to say the Atlanta Falcons play calling was terrible yesterday. There was like 3 or 4 plays where they ran the ball on like 3rd and 9.
Who's their coach? Who's their coach now?
Arthur Smith. He was the offensive coordinator for the Titans the last couple of years. Or maybe the defensive coordinator. I don't know what he was.
Their owner named Arthur too?
Arthur
Blank?
Blank, yeah, he owns Home Depot.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, listen, the Falcons are not a good team. They haven't been for a couple years now. And we're not going to get too high or too low, throughout the season. It was a good overall performance, both by Jalen Hurts and the rest of the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm excited for next week.
Great. That was a great week.
What's your prediction next week? Score, everything.
Score, I'm not going to get crazy because we're playing a more veteran team. Obviously, going from Arthur Smith to Kyle Shanahan is a big, big difference. You're going from a first-time head coach to a coach that's proven a Super Bowl-type coach, been to 2 Super Bowls. He's a great coach. They're a better team, but they definitely didn't look great against Detroit, who probably is ranked the worst team in the league. I think it's going to be a close game, and I got the Eagles winning. I think it's not going to be too high scoring. I think maybe like 24-17, 21-17. I definitely got the Eagles winning first game, back in the link, like fully everybody there. It's going to be a really big game. And yeah, if they could come out with a win, if they played like they did last week, take away the penalties, they'll win for sure. Don't be surprised if the Eagles start 3-0, Jim. Don't be surprised.
Hey, listen, I'm hoping you're right. I hope your Bryce's best bet is on for the Eagles start to this season. They are actually the only team that came away with the win in the NFC least. The Giants, the Cowboys, and Washington.
Well, that's another thing I feel great about. Giants look horrible.
Oh man, Danny Dimes is the total opposite. I mean,
I was high on him too coming in, and he
too many turnovers. He's got too many turnovers.
He just fumbles the ball, and you can't fumble the ball. You can't turn over the ball. And the other thing is that defense looked really bad. How the last couple of years they've been good. They looked really bad. And another big thing is Redskin or Washington football team. They don't have Ryan Fitzpatrick is out for 6 to 8 weeks. They're going to have to go with Taylor Heineke. That's going to hurt them.
Do you see them signing somebody?
There's rumors that they're going to sign Cam Newton. The reason why I don't think that's going to happen is because I think things with him and or Rivera ended kind of poorly on a bad note. I'd be fine if they signed Cam Newton because I'd generally rather have Cam Newton playing for them than Taylor Heineke. I think Taylor Heineke might play better than Cam Newton. That's big for us, obviously. Also, the Chargers were able to win. It's a good start. Obviously, the Cowboys had one of those, rare, like the Browns, they had one of those rare games where a loss looks good. But their defense still looks really suspect to me. Losing Michael Gallup is going to hurt this team. And Zeke didn't break.
The football team's defense scares me. They were a top defense last year. It's what got them to the playoffs. What won them the division title last year. I mean, when you got guys like Chase Young and Jonathan Allen. No, what's his name?
Jonathan Allen's one of them. There's Sweat. They've got a ton of studs.
And, their offense doesn't scare me too much, especially now they don't have Fitzpatrick for a couple weeks. The Cowboys.
I'm going to be a little scared, though, when Fitzpatrick comes back, and then you get the Fitz magic. You get the full-blown effect of Fitz magic. That's going to be scary.
For the stretch run, right in the prime of the season. The Cowboys, I think we're going to split a game with the Cowboys. When we go and play at Dallas week 3, I don't think we're going to win that game. I think at Dallas, it'll be their first home game of the season with all their weapons. I think they will beat us, but I think later in the season, we'll get
We're gonna
Dallas
split a
back.
game. We're gonna split a game. We
Yeah,
always split a game. We're gonna
every
split a
year we
game.
always split.
We're gonna hopefully try to split a game with Washington. We usually actually kind of lose both, and we usually always beat the Giants twice, and it looks like we're gonna beat them twice.
I think we'll beat the Giants twice. But once again, it's week 1. We're not gonna get too high or too low with these predictions.
We're not gonna get crazy. We're not gonna get crazy. But man, it definitely doesn't look like the Eagles are a team to just, everyone had them coming in as the 3rd worst team in the NFL, 4th worst team in the NFL. They definitely don't look like they're.
It doesn't look like a team that you could just walk all over on. It looks like these guys are looking to play. And listen, like Tony Romo said this past weekend, the Eagles have you win at the lines in the league, both offensive and defensive. And the Eagles have very good offensive line and a very good defensive line that are healthy. So
listen, the big thing that Jalen Hurts did, and Jim, you know it and I know it, he did not turn over the ball. If you don't turn over the ball in this league, you always have a chance to win. As long as you don't give the other team an advantage with turning over the football, punt the ball here and there, kick field goals, score touchdowns. As long as you don't turn over the ball, you always have a chance to beat any team in the league, and that was big. He didn't turn over the ball. I think everybody was expecting, a ton of turnovers. He didn't turn it over, and that was big. Another big thing for the Eagles, and I'm feeling really good about week 2, especially with the 49ers finished the game off, yesterday.
Listen, the 49ers are a much better football team, much better organization than the Atlanta Falcons, so it's going to be interesting to see how the Eagles line up with them. I think it will be more of a test to see what we will get from the Philadelphia.
I was just going to say, if we could pull out a win, even if we pull out like a crazy big win, but I'm not going to get overhead. If we beat, a coach like Kyle Shanahan, that's something that, don't be overlooking the Eagles type thing to me. That's how I'll see it. Don't be looking at, don't be like, that's all I got to say is I think they could be
No, you're right. I mean, I totally agree with what you're saying right now. Listen, great episode tonight. Once again, this is the 20th episode of the Brothers of Broad Street podcast. Thank you all who have subscribed and follow us up until this point. If you haven't yet, subscribe, follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, where you can find Bryce and I on Instagram or Twitter, wherever you guys get your sports information.
Who do you got right before we go? Who do you got Thursday night? Giants, Washington.
That's easy. I'm taking the football team. It's going
to be a little weird dogfight because the Heineke. It's going to be a little weird of a game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a low scoring game in my opinion.
It's going to be like a 14-point type game.
With the football team's defense, I think they're going to hold the Giants, and then with Heineke, being thrown into this team, the season right away, week 2, I think they're not going to be able to, get as much offense going. So I think it's going to be a low scoring game. I'm taking the football team in that one.
Yeah.
Now, if you ask me who would I want to win, I would want the Giants to win because
we definitely want the Giants to win
because I trust beating the Giants more than I trust beating the Eagles.
It's always the worst when it's games like this. Like I always want like one of our division rivals to just play a random team so we can root for the random team. Because in this situation, it's like a win-lose. Like one team's going to win, the other team's going to lose. It's just the way it is. But I would like to see the Giants win because I think we're going to crush them both times. That team is really bad, poorly coached, bad offensive line.
We'll have to bring our boy Nick Newtile on the show to discuss how his Giants are going to be looking this season. However they do, I still think Saquon Barkley coming off that injury, I think he's going to have a good year.
No, I'm confident in Saquon.
He's an excellent player, so I'm hoping he has a good year. But yeah, I'm taking the football team this Thursday. Who do you got? You want the football team too?
I'm going to go with the football team too, but I wouldn't be shocked if the Giants won.
Just because division rival, yeah.
Just because the injury, you don't really know how Heineke's going to play. He wasn't intended to be the starter, but listen, he had, he almost beat the Bucs last year in the playoffs.
Oh yeah,
that was a game. So we'll see. But man, I feel really, really, really good about the division right now. I do. I feel like the Eagles can definitely take it.
There we go. All right, week 1's in the books, and also if you guys check this out on Instagram. First week of fantasy, I took down Bryce. It's no big deal. I know the season's early, and I know Bryce and I will play again. We are in the same division, but I want to leave it at that. We'll be back here on Wednesday.
Tyreek Hill killed me.
Tyreek Hill dropped 37. That was big time. Yeah. But we'll be back here on Wednesday for the 21st episode. Thank you again, guys. Bryce, great work tonight.
Go Birds, baby. Go Birds.
As always, go Birds.